Sacramento sings "We're in the money," but should we believe the government's tune? I'm Alexis Garcia with Cal Watchdog's Brian Calle. So, Brian, should we believe what Governor Brown is telling us about the budget? I mean, are all our state's financial woes behind us?
I don't think that our state's financial woes are anywhere near behind us. I mean, the biggest challenge that we're facing with unfunded pension liabilities, unfunded healthcare liabilities, spending increases that not only legislators are going to demand in the future, but also public employee unions who honestly think that Prop 30 last year, the tax increase, only brought in half the money they need to get the spending levels where they want. So really, I don't think we're in the money when you start thinking about all the factors and the future and what legislators and what special interests actually want the spending levels in California to be and what they want the taxation levels to be.
Now, you talked about pensions, you talked about health care. Just how exactly are these unfunded liabilities being dealt with in the budget?
Well, unfortunately, they're not being dealt with in the way that they should. I mean, Governor Brown did pass pension reform last year. It was commendable to an extent. However, it didn't go far enough, which we've talked about many times at Cal Watchdog and elsewhere. The challenge is that what it's almost funny money in Sacramento. It's like, okay, we're going to play with the percentages and the rates of return on these investment portfolios, whether it's CalSTRS or CalPERS or whatever it is. And so what they do is they project this revenue stream over a certain amount of time that's unrealistic. And they'll say, oh, don't worry. The attitude in Sacramento is very simple. Oh, don't worry. Over 20 years, it's all going to balance out and we won't have unfunded liabilities anymore. But the reality is we do, and there's no guarantee that we're going to have these windfall profits someday. I think the most telling example of this was a couple of years ago when the state of California had windfall profits from a bunch of Google stock that was sold. And they were like, oh, this is great. And then the next year, they budgeted off that same amount of money coming in. And anyone, you and I, thinking, oh yeah, I got all these profits because I sold all my stock. That doesn't happen every year, right? And so it's that kind of mentality that permeates the state capitol right now. And that's why I think Governor Brown's going to have to set up a new philosophy for what it means to be a fiscally responsible Democrat in the state capitol, especially now that they control everything.
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't Governor Brown's first rodeo. I mean, do you think that he is actually leading in a conservative, fiscally responsible way? Or, I mean, are they just kicking the can down the road?
Call me crazy, but I have, somehow I have a fondness in my heart for Governor Jerry Brown for whatever reason. I don't agree with him on most issues, but I do think that he understands the dynamics of the state very well. Is he governing in a fiscally conservative manner? He's probably governing more fiscally conservative than his predecessor, to be honest. And I think he's also probably governing a little bit more conservatively than his last term as governor. And I say that in the context of the makeup of the legislature. If you look at the makeup of the legislature, Jerry Brown is really like the whole defensive team if you're kind of a fiscal conservative, because the spending requests and the number of bills that are proposed in Sacramento all require funding mechanisms. And Governor Brown is saying, whoa, 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 let's hold this back, let's hold this back.
Yeah, I mean, the legislature's running up bills, but they're also running up dollar bills as far as debt. We're over $1 trillion in debt. What do you think's driving that? Is it the number of confusing laws, or what's...
I think that it's just, there's money, let's spend. Oh, there's going to be more money, let's spend that, and then let's spend that, and let's spend that. And it's this mentality that you can never spend too little government money. And it's not just a California problem. I mean, if you look at the leaders of the progressive movement in the country, the intellectual capital, like the Paul Krugmans of the world, they'll say the government should spend more, the federal government should spend more. Well, that mindset trickles down to the state level. Oh, well, the state level we should spend more, we should spend more. That's going to stimulate the economy. The challenge is we're not getting the economic impact that we would if we just cut that back and put the money back in the hands of, business owners, investors, and entrepreneurs.
When we look at California and the dysfunction in the state, are they really trying to be responsible, or is this just a budget shell game?
Well, it's interesting. Speaker Perez and Senator Daryl Steinberg will say the same thing. They're like, California's open for business. We want to do things that are, increasing interest and investment in California. The challenge is, and it really, and this is the part that's heartbreaking for native Californians, right? Which is that the special interests in Sacramento all see a need for more money. And I think there needs to be some leadership from Perez, Steinberg, and Jerry Brown to say, okay, everyone's asking for more. What does more look like? What does more get us? Because I think every single Californian would say, listen, if we need infrastructure, we need infrastructure. If we want better schools, we want better schools. What will that cost? And if we give it to you, when will we see results? And so for Prop 30, Governor Brown went to the people and made that case. I don't think he can do that again. And so I think he's going to have to lead and push back the special interests in Sacramento a little bit, which is going to be, he said, recently it's going to be the fight of his life when he was talking about.
It's almost like breaking an addiction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hard to do.
Well, Brian, thank you so much. For Cal Watchdog, I'm Alexis Garcia. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.